In this section, I'd like to talk about authentication on a small network. Authentication is when you prove that you are who you say you are. In other words, if I walk up to a machine and I tell that machine I am the administrator, it doesn't just take my word for it. I have to do something to prove I am the administrator, and typically that is typing in a password. So most of our authentication is based on username and password. On a small network, we can have authentication done by each individual machine. So each machine would maintain its own list of usernames and passwords. In some operating systems, the requirement for a password is optional. I usually recommend turning that on. Go ahead and force every account to need a password in addition to the username. And these usernames will be used for our file sharing. So if you want to do file sharing, making sure everyone has their own account is very important. If you use the local machine to do your authentication, you may have to create accounts on multiple machines. So if you want to log in as Martin on 3 different machines, you have to go to each machine and create an account for Martin. Another option for authentication is to use directory services. Directory services software will create a server that allows authentication throughout the network. So any machine I go to on my network that can communicate with the directory server, I could type in my username and password. The local machine would pass those credentials to the directory server. The directory server would either verify them or reject them, and then send a message back to the local machine to allow me to log in or prevent me from logging in. Directory services is a nice feature to have. It's very common on larger networks, but not really necessary on most small networks.